They left for the airport without me. 8 tickets, 5 rooms, 1 forgotten passenger. I found the itinerary on the printer. When I texted Dad, he said, "We thought you backed out. You're so moody lately." I stayed silent. An hour later, my sister sent me a note left for her friends. "He's gonna flip when he sees the photos." I replied, "Enjoy." Then I canceled the €14,200 booking from my app, and at 8 a.m. my phone lit up. 71 missed calls. I, 32M, found out I wasn't going on vacation exactly 47 minutes before takeoff. The printer in my home office had been acting up all week, spitting out random documents at odd hours. That morning, it whirred to life while I was making coffee. I walked over, expecting another spam coupon or forgotten work document. Instead, I found a detailed itinerary for a 10-day trip to Greece. 8 travelers, 5 luxury villa rooms. Departure, today, 6:45 a.m. My name wasn't on it. I stood there, mug in hand, reading through the passenger list. Mom, Dad, both my sisters, my younger brother, his girlfriend, even my aunt and uncle were going. The booking confirmation sat at the bottom of the page, showing a total of €14,200. Charged to my travel rewards account 3 weeks ago. My phone sat silent on the kitchen counter. No texts, no calls, no "hey, running late," or "meet us there." Nothing. I checked my messages. The family group chat showed their last activity from the night before, discussing what time they'd leave for the airport. I scrolled up, looking for any mention of me. There was none. Not on the last day. Not in the last week. The conversation flowed as if I simply didn't exist. My hands felt cold despite the warm mug. I set it down and pulled up my banking app. The charge was there, processed 22 days ago. Premium villas with ocean views. Private transfers. The works. All on my credit card, linked to my travel account that I'd stupidly shared access to after Dad said it would be easier for family trip planning. I texted Dad. Simple. Direct. Asking where everyone was. His response came 12 minutes later, right around the time their flight would be boarding. He told me they all thought I'd backed out. Said I'd been so moody lately, always distant at family dinners, never engaging. They figured I wasn't interested anymore. Decided not to bother me about it. I read that message 4 times. Moody. Distant. Not interested. 3 months ago, I'd worked 70-hour weeks to close a deal that earned me the biggest bonus of my career. I'd mentioned celebrating as a family. 2 months ago, I'd asked about summer plans, suggested we do something together. 6 weeks ago, at Sunday dinner, I brought up vacation ideas. Each time, the conversation shifted. Changed subjects. Moved on without me. Now I understood why. My sister sent me a message an hour later. Not an apology. Not an explanation. Just a photo of a handwritten note, the kind she'd leave for her friends. The message was clear enough. He's gonna flip when he sees the photos. They were planning to rub it in. Post pictures. Show off. Make sure I knew exactly what I was missing. This wasn't an oversight. This was intentional. I typed back a single word, enjoy. Then I opened my travel booking app. The account showed the reservation in full detail. Primary account holder, me. Cancellation policy, full refund if canceled more than 72 hours before check-in. Current time, 7:13 a.m. Their flight would land at 2:30 p.m. Greek time. Check-in at the villas started at 3 p.m. I wasn't within the 72-hour window for the flights. Those were gone. But the accommodations? Those were booked separately. And those had a different cancellation policy tied to local check-in time, not departure time. The time zone difference gave me exactly enough room. My finger hovered over the cancel button. I thought about every Sunday dinner where I'd sat quietly while they made plans without me. Every holiday where I'd been the one buying gifts, organizing logistics, making sure everything ran smoothly. Every time I'd been the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who handled things so everyone else could relax, the one they could take for granted. I pressed cancel. The confirmation came through immediately. Booking canceled. Refund processing. Estimated return, 7 to 10 business days. I set my phone face down on the counter and went back to my coffee. At 8 a.m., my phone started vibrating. 1 call. 2. 5. 10. I let it buzz against the granite countertop, watching the screen light up with names. Dad. Mom. Sister. Brother. Dad again. Mom again. The calls came in waves, frantic and overlapping. By 8:15, I had 71 missed calls. I turned the phone over and saw the messages piling up. Dad asking what happened to the booking. Mom saying there must be a mistake. My brother demanding I fix it. My sister calling me petty and cruel. The messages grew more desperate as reality set in. They were about to land in a foreign country with no accommodation, no backup plan, and no way to rebook 5 luxury rooms during peak season. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a shower, got dressed, made myself breakfast. Real breakfast, not the quick protein bar I usually grab before work. Eggs, toast, fresh fruit. I ate slowly, methodically, while my phone continued its mechanical seizure on the table. Around 9 a.m., my aunt called. She'd been added to the group chat. Her message was different from the others. She wasn't angry. She was panicked. She asked me to please call her back. Said she didn't know what was happening, but they needed help. Said my uncle had a heart condition and the stress wasn't good for him. That one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered Uncle sitting at Christmas dinner, laughing along when Dad made jokes about me being too serious and no fun anymore. Remembered him nodding when Mom said I needed to lighten up. He'd been part of it too. They all had. I blocked the family group chat. My cousin called next. She wasn't on the trip, lived 3 hours away, barely kept in touch except for occasional likes on social media. She told me Mom had called her in tears, begging her to reach out to me. Said I was destroying the family. Said they tried so hard to include me, and this was how I repaid them. I asked her a simple question. Had she seen any messages about me in their planning? Any discussion about whether I was coming? Any concern about my absence? She went quiet. I told her the truth. Showed her screenshots of the group chat. Sent her the photo my sister had shared, the handwritten note about me flipping out. Let her see exactly what kind of including they'd done. She stopped defending them pretty quickly after that. By noon, the calls slowed. They'd landed. Reality had fully set in. 5 luxury villas, gone. Peak season in the Greek islands, meaning every decent place was booked solid. They were stuck scrambling for whatever they could find, probably looking at splitting up into different hotels, different islands even, whatever had availability. Dad sent an email. Formal. Cold. He informed me that my actions had consequences. That family was everything, and I'd just burned every bridge I had. That they'd tried to do something nice, bring everyone together, and I'd sabotaged it out of spite. He said Mom was devastated. My sister was in tears. Everyone was hurt and confused. He said I owed them all an apology and the money to fix this mess. I read it twice, then archived it without responding. The thing about being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one everyone counts on, people forget you're a person. They forget you have limits. They assume you'll always be there, always say yes, always fix things when they break. And when you finally stop, when you finally set a boundary, they don't see it as self-preservation. They see it as betrayal. My phone buzzed again. My younger sister this time, the one who'd sent the note. Her message was different. Shorter. She said she was sorry. Said she didn't realize how it looked. Said it had started as a joke that went too far. She asked if we could talk. I didn't block her number. But I didn't respond either. Not yet. By evening, my social media had exploded. Family friends reaching out, asking if I was okay, saying they'd heard there was some kind of situation. I didn't post anything. Didn't explain. Didn't defend myself. Let them wonder. My brother's girlfriend called. She'd always been kind to me, probably the only one who actually asked how I was doing at gatherings. She apologized. Said she'd argued against the trip when she realized I wasn't included. Said my brother had insisted I'd said I was too busy with work. Said she felt sick about the whole thing. I believed her. She'd never been part of the family dynamic, never gotten sucked into their patterns. She was collateral damage. I told her I appreciated the call. Told her none of this was directed at her. She asked if there was anything she could do. I said no, but thanked her anyway. After we hung up, I poured myself a drink and sat on my balcony. The city spread out below, early evening traffic humming in the distance. My phone sat silent for the first time all day. I thought about what came next. Update 1. 3 days passed before I heard from Dad again. The intervening time had been oddly peaceful. I'd gone to work, come home, lived my life without the constant background hum of family obligation. No Sunday dinner to prepare for. No group chat notifications. No wondering what was being planned without me. Dad's message came through email again. More measured this time. Less angry. He said they'd found accommodation, though it cost nearly double the original booking, and they'd had to split across 3 different locations. He said the trip was ruined, that instead of the family bonding experience they'd planned, everyone was stressed and scattered. He said it was my fault. But, and this was the interesting part, he also said he wanted to understand. Said maybe there had been a miscommunication. Asked if I'd be willing to talk when they got back. I didn't respond. My younger sister sent her own message on day 4, longer than the last one. She admitted they'd deliberately excluded me. Said it had started at a family dinner 6 months ago when I'd been quiet, apparently in a bad mood. Mom had commented later that I seemed to be pulling away from the family. Dad had agreed. They'd all started to notice times when I was off or distant. So they'd made a decision. They'd plan the trip without me. See if I'd notice. See if I'd care. Test whether I actually wanted to be part of the family anymore. She said it sounded stupid now. Cruel even. But at the time, it felt justified. Like they were protecting themselves from my rejection by rejecting me first. She said she was sorry. I sat with that message for a long time. Read it over and over. Looking for the lie, the manipulation, the angle. But it read like the truth. Ugly, uncomfortable truth. They'd seen me pulling back, which I had been, after years of being taken for granted. And instead of asking why or trying to fix it, they'd cut me loose. Preemptive abandonment. And then they'd planned to mock me for it. I replied to her. Told her I appreciated the honesty. Told her I'd been distant because being the family workhorse was exhausting. That I was tired of being needed but not wanted. That every time I tried to connect in ways that mattered to me, I got shut down or ignored. So I'd stop trying. I told her the test worked. I did notice. I did care. And now they knew exactly what it felt like to be left behind. She read the message but didn't respond. On day 7, Mom called. I answered. She cried immediately. Long, shuddering sobs that made her words almost incomprehensible. She said she'd ruined everything. That she'd pushed everyone into this stupid plan because she was hurt and confused by my behavior. She said she'd spent the whole trip thinking about every time she'd dismissed something I said. Every time she'd changed the subject when I tried to share something important. She said she finally understood. I listened without speaking. Let her get it all out. When she finished, she asked what she could do to fix this. How she could make it right. I told her the truth. I didn't know. That this wasn't something that could be fixed with an apology or a grand gesture. That trust, once broken this completely, didn't just snap back into place. She asked if I'd come to Sunday dinner when they got back. I said no. She asked if I'd ever come back. I said maybe. Eventually. If things changed. But I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine. Wasn't going to slip back into being the person they could take for granted. If they wanted me in their lives, it had to be different. Real. Equal. She said she understood. Said she'd do whatever it took. I told her we'd see. After I hung up, I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, not vindication, but sadness. Heavy, crushing sadness. Because the truth was, I'd loved being part of the family. Loved the dinners and the holidays and the shared history. But I'd loved a version that didn't exist anymore. Maybe never had. And that was the thing they'd forced me to see. Update 2. They came home after 10 days. I didn't see them. My brother showed up at my apartment unannounced 2 days after their return. I almost didn't let him in. But his girlfriend was with him, and something about her presence made it feel safer. Less likely to turn into a confrontation. He looked tired. Thinner, maybe, or just worn down. He sat on my couch and stared at his hands for a long time before speaking. He told me he'd been jealous. For years. Jealous that I was the successful one, the responsible one, the one who had his life together. He said every time they asked me for help or relied on me for something, it felt like proof of his own inadequacy. Like I was the golden child and he was just there. He said when Mom suggested planning the trip without me, he jumped at it. Saw it as a chance to be the important one. The one everyone turned to. He'd helped coordinate everything, made decisions, acted like the leader, and it had felt good. Until it didn't. He said watching everyone panic at the airport, scrambling to fix the mess, seeing Mom cry and Dad furious, he'd realized something. Being important because someone else was absent wasn't the same as actually matching. He'd been playing a role in my absence, not building something of his own. He apologized. Said he understood if I never forgave him. But he wanted me to know he saw what he'd done. Saw what they'd all done. His girlfriend squeezed his hand. I noticed she'd been crying. I asked him a question I'd been holding on to. If I'd shown up at the airport that morning, what would they have done? He looked away. Said honestly, he didn't know. that they'd talked about it hypothetically, what they'd do if I somehow found out. Some had wanted to pretend it was a surprise. Others thought they'd just tell me the truth. But no one had really believed I'd show up, because they'd convinced themselves I didn't care enough to notice. I told them that was the part that hurt most. Not the exclusion itself, but the absolute certainty that I wouldn't fight for my place in the family, that I'd just accept being forgotten. He nodded, said he got it now. I asked him what he wanted from me, what outcome he was looking for by coming here. He said he didn't know, that he just needed me to know he was sorry, that he was working on figuring out who he was outside of my shadow, that maybe someday we could be brothers again. Real brothers, not whatever performance they'd all been doing. I told him I appreciated him coming, that I meant it, but I needed time. He stood to leave. At the door, he turned back and said something that stuck with me. He said I'd been right to cancel the trip, that if I hadn't, they'd have spent 10 days congratulating themselves on cutting me out. They'd have come home feeling justified and righteous. The cancellation had forced them to sit with what they'd done, to actually feel the consequences. He said it was the only thing that could have broken through. After they left, I sat in the silence of my apartment and realized something had shifted. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not reconciliation, but maybe the first crack in the wall. A possibility of something different on the other side. Update 3. 6 weeks after the canceled trip, Dad asked to meet for coffee. I almost said no, but curiosity won out. Or maybe something deeper than curiosity. Some small, stubborn part of me that still wanted to believe things could change. We met at a neutral place downtown. Not our usual spot, not anywhere with history. He looked older than I remembered. Grayer. More worn. He didn't apologize right away. Instead, he asked about work. About my life. Actually listened to the answers. Asked follow-up questions. It felt alien. Wrong almost. Like watching someone perform a version of intimacy they'd learned from a book. But it was effort. That counted for something. Eventually, he got to the point. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking. About what kind of father he'd been. About the patterns he'd created in the family. He said Mom had dragged him to a therapist after they got back from Greece. That he'd resisted at first, but eventually started talking. Started seeing things he'd refused to see before. He said he'd taught everyone in the family that reliability meant availability. That showing up meant being used. That love was measured in utility, not connection. And I'd been the most reliable, most available, most useful one of all. Until I wasn't. He said he finally understood what that must have felt like. To be needed but not valued. To be depended on but not cherished. To be part of the family structure but not the family heart. He said he was sorry. Not for the trip specifically, but for everything the trip represented. Years of taking me for granted. Years of not seeing me as a whole person with needs and limits and feelings that mattered. I didn't respond immediately. Couldn't. There was too much to process, too much weight behind the words. He told me he wasn't asking for forgiveness. Wasn't asking me to come back to Sunday dinners or pretend everything was fine. He just wanted me to know he saw it now. Saw me. And if I ever decided to give them another chance, it would be different. He'd make sure of it. I asked him how. How he'd make it different when the patterns were so deep, so ingrained. He said he didn't have all the answers. But he'd started small. Changed how they talked at family gatherings. Called out behavior when someone was being dismissed or ignored. Actually asked people how they were doing and waited for real answers. Worked with the therapist on recognizing when he was falling into old habits. He said it was hard. Uncomfortable. Everyone was adjusting. But it was necessary. I told him I'd think about it. He nodded. Said that was all he could ask for. As we stood to leave, he did something he hadn't done in years. He hugged me. Not the quick, performative pat on the back from family gatherings. A real hug. The kind that meant something. I didn't pull away. 3 months after the canceled trip, I went to Sunday dinner. Not every week. Not as the reliable fixture who always showed up, but as someone testing the waters. Seeing if the changes were real or just temporary performances. They were real. Mostly. The family still had its dysfunction. Still had its patterns and blind spots. But there was effort now. Consciousness. When someone started to fall into old habits, others called it out. When I spoke, people listened. Actually listened. My younger sister and I had started meeting for lunch every few weeks. Rebuilding something separate from the family dynamic. She'd started therapy too. Was working through her own stuff. Her own patterns of seeking approval through cruelty. My brother was distant, but cordial. Working on his own life, his own identity. We weren't close yet. Maybe we never would be. But we were civil. That was something. Mom tried too hard sometimes. Overcompensated. Asked too many questions. Was too interested, too eager to prove she'd changed. But it came from a genuine place. I could see that now. Dad was quieter, more thoughtful. He'd catch himself starting to dismiss something I said and physically stop. Pause. Reset. Actually engage. It was awkward and obvious and kind of beautiful in its imperfection. The family would never be what it was. That version was gone, burned up in the fire of that canceled trip and everything it represented. But maybe it could be something else. Something better. Something built on actual connection instead of obligation. I didn't know yet. The jury was still out. But I was willing to see. The story people tell about this, the ones who heard through the grapevine, the extended family and friends, is usually one of two versions. Either I'm the villain who destroyed a family trip out of spite, or I'm the hero who finally stood up for myself. Neither is quite right. The truth is messier. More complicated. I hurt people who'd hurt me. Broke something that was already broken but still functional. Forced a reckoning that might have been avoided with better communication all around. But I don't regret it. Because that morning, standing in my kitchen with the itinerary in my hand, I'd finally seen the truth clearly. I'd spent years being the foundation everyone built their lives on. Stable, reliable, always there. And they'd forgotten that foundations are made of stone. Solid and strong, yes, but also cold, unyielding, alone in the dark beneath everything else. I didn't want to be the foundation anymore. I wanted to be part of the house, part of the living space, part of the warmth and light and mess of actual connection. And if burning down the old structure was the only way to rebuild something real, then so be it. The phone still sits on my kitchen counter. The same counter where it buzzed 71 times that morning. Sometimes I look at it and remember that moment. The power and terror of finally saying no. Of finally choosing myself. I don't regret answering their calls eventually. Don't regret giving them a chance to change. But I also don't regret the silence that came before. Some things need to break before they can heal. Some distances need to be traveled before you can find your way home. If you can call it home anymore. Maybe that's still being decided. Last week, my sister sent me a message. She'd found the original note she'd written about me flipping out over the photos. She sent me a picture of it torn in half. She didn't add any words. Didn't need to. I saved the image. Not as a reminder of what happened, but as a marker of what changed. Proof that sometimes the things that break us can also break us open. Can crack through the shell we've built and the shell others have built around us. Can let something new grow in the space between. I don't know what my relationship with my family will look like a year from now. 5 years from now. Maybe we'll be close again. Maybe we'll be cordial strangers who share holidays. Maybe something in between. But I know this. I won't be taken for granted again. Won't be the silent foundation holding everything up while being buried beneath it. If they want me in their lives, I'll be visible, present, equal, or I won't be there at all. And I'm finally okay with that. The printer hasn't spit out any random documents lately. I had it fixed. Seems appropriate somehow. No more unexpected revelations printed out at dawn. No more secrets accidentally discovered. But I keep it. Keep it working. Keep the paper stocked. Just in case I need to print my own itinerary someday. My own plans. My own future. With my name at the top of the list. Where it belongs.